Rare Gem Productions proudly presents Entrepreneurially Thinking. Entrepreneurially Thinking is a presentation of BioSTL and CET, the Center for Emerging Technologies, changing the way you view new ventures and activating your entrepreneurial mindset, empowering you to create new pathways for business success in the St. Louis marketplace and beyond. Here's your hosts, Cheryl and Christy. Now let's get thinking entrepreneurially.
Welcome back to the Entrepreneurially Thinking podcast. I'm Christy Maxfield.
And I'm Dr. Cheryl Watkins-Moore. I lead our STEM Inclusion Initiative for BioSTL for the region. Hey, lady.
How are you?
I am well. I'm well.
You are more than well because you were just recognized for all that work you do on behalf of inclusion for the region,
It was
right?
fun.
You just got the Arcus Award from the St. Louis Regional Chamber.
From the Regional Chamber. And it
About
was
time.
And as I said, this was a win for all of us that work hard doing this inclusion work in the region. So it's not just me. And that's what I said on the acceptance speech. Hey, it's not just me. This is for everybody out here that's deep down and on the ground.
So they have lots of categories. Which category was this? Do you remember?
It was the Inclusive Business Solutions.
Awesome. Like I said, about
achievement for award for achievement, which it was funny because when they actually made the announcement, because we've always been the bridesmaid to the party, never the bride, right? And when we actually, they called the initiative's name, I forgot where I was, and I actually screamed and said, "Oh my God, we won!"
That's awesome. I wish somebody had caught that on tape. Well, congratulations.
Yes, thank you. And thank you guys. I mean, CET is our partner in doing this. You've been my partner, as they said.
Yeah, you can't get rid of me.
You've been the road dog,
You
girl.
can't get rid of me. I keep finding you. I'll find my way home, even if you try. And we're really proud of CET and BioSTL, who are our founding sponsors, and we appreciate their support of what we're doing.
They keep believing in us.
Well, honestly, once you win an award or two, and you've won more than one award, it's really easy to keep believing. So check them out on our website. Check out Cheryl's great news all over the social media, especially on LinkedIn. And you can find us wherever you find your favorite podcast.
That's
So
right.
iTunes, Spreaker, Facebook, LinkedIn. Follow the hashtags. Use the hashtags ETHINKSTL, eThink Podcast, and stay listening so we can get more listeners and share all the great stories.
We want to be where you are.
Yeah. And where are we today?
So, yes.
Sometimes we don't know.
The words Lux and Nyx, pretty cool.
They are pretty cool.
YX are derived from the Greek words meaning light and night. Lisa Hu left the field of corporate finance after a decade to start her own business. Lisa's on-the-go lifestyle caused her to realize that there just wasn't a handbag on the market that allowed women to transition from life to work to play. And she is not kidding.
No.
Yes.
No, it's all that.
It's a pain in the butt if you got to go from work and then go home, find a bag to go out with.
I got 3 bags today. Don't even talk to me.
Exactly. So Lux and Nyx handbags are couture bags with function. Oh, I like that. Their line of work and play bags take women from yoga class in the morning through drinks on the rooftop at night with style. Love it. Through her handbags, Lisa Hu celebrates the unique contribution women make in our world. Although the design of every handbag, satchel, tote, and clutch is well thought through, Hu added an extra flair by giving a nod to women in history by naming bags throughout the collection after women of achievement. That is fabulous. So to learn more about these amazing multifunctional bags and their creator, stay listening.
CET, the Center for Emerging Technologies, is a proud founding sponsor of this Entrepreneurially Thinking podcast. We want you to know all about the great things they are up to. Square One offers 2 training options. Square One Ignite, a 4-week program created to help founders quick start their business model validation process. Or Square One Bootcamp, an in-depth 10-week, 50-hour program that combines formal instruction with hands-on learning, networking, and mentoring. To learn more about Square One Bootcamp or Square One Ignite, visit ETHINKSTL.com. And for your renewed and continuing support, CET, we say thank you.
Purpose First Advisors is proud to support the Entrepreneurially Thinking podcast. Purpose First works with entrepreneurs and the organizations that support them to accelerate business formation, scaling, and transformational growth. For more information about how to work with Purpose First advisors on business model validation, financial modeling, core messaging, or other growth and profitability strategies, visit purposefirstadvisors.com.
Hi, I'm Lisa Hu. I'm the founder of Lux Nyx, and entrepreneurial thinking for most means thinking outside the box. For me, it means thinking outside the bag.
Lisa, we are thrilled that you could join us today. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me here.
And, you know, I've heard a little of your story before with regard to how you named the line, but Lux Nyx, tell our listeners how you named your line.
Yeah, so it was interesting. So this is actually before I left the corporate world, and I was making a decision in terms of whether I was going to make the leap or stay in my corporate cushy job that brought in a steady salary.
She was on the CFO track.
Right.
And I was driving down Highway 40 and I saw a really beautiful pink sunset. And then I was like, oh, it's got to be something related to a transition in time or life changes. Yeah. And then I started, you start Googling things. And
Right.
We love the Googles.
Yeah, you Google. And then I end up, on the Greek mythology side. And then it just kind of clicked. Like there was a goddess named Nyx for goddess night, and then Lux for goddess light. And so it just kind of clicked. It's like, oh, Lux and Nyx.
That's
light
very
and night.
cool.
Yeah.
Very, very
cool. So there
cool.
was an origin for that.
Oh my gosh. So, okay, as everybody knows, I like to hear your personal story, your history. Were you born here in the States? How did you get to St. Louis and, the corporate job, but that whole thing before you got to your wonderful line. So can you give us a little bit of background around Lisa?
Absolutely. So I was actually born in the small fisher town in China. So my father came here to get his PhD at SLU, and we came here with literally nothing. We were first generation immigrants. And I just remember, so he went to school, and my in his off time, he would deliver pizza, and then my mother would work in a restaurant, and I was underage, but I was babysitting myself. And
it's all good. We were latchkey generation. There's nothing wrong with that.
Exactly. And this was before the advent of freaking phones that helped to babysit you, right?
Exactly. And so I just remember growing up, and I would literally eat McDonald's all the time because I was like, that's still my kind of guilty pleasure.
Oh my gosh.
It's just,
well, if I could look like you and eat McDonald's all the time,
yeah. And so I knew growing up what it was like to be poor and not have very much. So once I got into, I was when I was in high school, I told myself, hey, I need to work. So I started working since I was 14 years old. And then
something I think all three of us have in common.
Yeah. Wow, working for a long time.
Awesome. Yeah. Yep. So
Oh yeah.
We never stopped working.
Exactly.
So then I got into college, and I was like, I had a passion in the arts, and hence I think that's a derivative of where I'm at right now. But I was like, oh, I need to make money. I'm going to go into a major. I, got my
safety net.
Right. Safety net. I got my master's in accounting. I got my CPA. I worked at a Big Four accounting firm. I made money. And then I was like, okay, now I need to figure out how to grow my career, make more money. Let's just keep doing this.
Wash, rinse, repeat, right?
And then, and I just kept going, and I was like, oh, I'm going to be on the CFO track. And so then I decided to go to WashU, do my MBA. And I remember go back and mention why I mentioned my MBA, because there was a moment where it caught me off guard. But I basically did my MBA, and then I got out, and all of a sudden I was like, I have this extra time now that I'm done with my MBA. So I'm like, I started working out in the morning. I just started doing more active stuff because my life was just,
crazy.
I traveled too, and I did consulting on the side as well.
Wow.
And then I was, getting promoted at work. And so I was like, I gotta.
And that free time
active.
After doing the MBA, all that free time.
Right.
But I know what you mean, because after I did my MBA, I was like, oh, I've got all this time. I should probably do something. Yeah. That's how you end up with another venture. It's how you end up like working cajillion hours a week. But I just love that. You know, your free time.
Yeah, the free time, the quote unquote free time. And so I was looking for a bag that would literally be able to carry me through all different situations, and I didn't have to switch between bags. So then I was like, okay, well, I'm going to make this because I have free time now. And I learned how to sew.
That's how most stuff happens, right?
She learned to sew, though. Come on now.
You learned how to sew?
I wasn't good at it.
Oh my God.
I mean, learning.
Me neither. I tried.
I
really wanted to be good at it.
I think I did that in high school. You remember those patterns that you had to sew from? I made a skirt and I was happy. Yeah. And that was it. That was the end of my sewing career. Wow.
Yeah. And so then I realized I wasn't good at it. So then I went down this path of finding a local seamstress to help me with prototyping, figure out how to actually manufacture. I travel, you know, I thought I was going to do it in St. Louis. I thought I was going to do it in New York. And nobody could do it because it was the design was so complicated. There's so many different compartments. So then I had to go overseas to Asia to go find a manufacturer. They the designers all have, or the artisans all have, over 20 years of experience. Yep. And so they can get it to the quality that, you know, I wanted, and also do it with a lot of detail and compartments that were very complicated.
And keep your costs down.
Keep my costs down. I mean, you know, over an extended period of time, you could probably get that done. I don't know. I mean, I'm still kind of at that stage where I'm debating, okay, should I pull some of it back to the US? Because I would love to have some made here, but the art craftsmanship is just not here yet. But you know, that's another story for another day.
Wow.
But going back to the MBA. So during my MBA, you know, I was like, I even, my emphasis was in finance at the time too, because I was like, CFO track. And I took a career aptitude test during that time. And my number one thing was entrepreneurship.
Wow.
I like it didn't occur to me till way later. I was like, because at the time I took it, I was like, what is this? I completely wrote it off. You know, I just was like, what?
They got something wrong. There was a glitch in the scoring.
They got like some Myers-Briggs. I'm an introvert.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding.
Then it would be really broken, or you'd be lying.
Right.
Well, I did. I thought, I was like, oh, everybody probably gets entrepreneurship as number one. It's probably one of those things where it's like you get a fortune cookie and but that was so interesting to me because I never thought about that. But now that I'm doing this, I literally, I love it. And, you know, it feeds off my energy in terms of being creative, but then also being able to set processes and building something from scratch.
And I think all of us, when you drop into entrepreneurship, especially if you've had a career, all that experience you bring to bear to be able to focus on what you're doing. Because I know when I took finance in an MBA class, I was a straight biology major in college. So I didn't understand the whole concept. When I sat in my first finance class and the guy was holding up $1 saying, this dollar today is not going to be worth the same tomorrow. And I was like, that blew my mind. I was like, what the hell are you talking about?
Because she's like, you know what? Paper. A heart is a heart and a liver's a liver. And they all stay where they're supposed to stay and they're the same. No.
It was like I did not grasp that, but it all comes into play as you're starting to build companies and do things. And I think what's so interesting when you're going back to China, you know, to source potential, you know, not just manufacturer craftsmen, because I know that navigating that market is not easy and having people who can help you do that. But you came from that area. Did you have any connections still back in China from family or anything else that could help you navigate that?
So the mecca of where handbags are made, basically where all the artisans kind of culminate or come together, it is almost like California from New York, from where I'm from. So I didn't have any connections. I literally was like, I booked a ticket and I was like, well, I'm going to go check out some of the trade shows just to understand this world because I know nothing about it.
You still speak the language though, right?
I still Yeah, I still spoke the language. I would say my level is the same as when I left.
Which is still light years better than you and me.
But granted, people understood.
Right.
Understood me. So so that definitely helped. But at the same time, at these like trade shows, I went to 2 that time. One was in Hong Kong. Everybody spoke English in Hong Kong.
Right.
And then one was in Guangdong. So it's a Canton Fair. This trade show was like freaking huge. It was 8 football fields.
Wow.
Like big. It was large.
Wow.
And so, yeah, like I just went one day and I was exhausted. I didn't want to go back again. But it was kind of an interesting story about how I found the manufacturer. So I actually went through, like, inspected like over 40 different manufacturers because, it just, you go into this with a preconceived notion of what manufacturer should be.
Right.
I thought, oh, I needed a really big one, like somebody that does like one of the high-end brands,
right.
They blah, blah, blah. And, and it's like, okay, well, they should probably have like hundreds of employees so that they're, like you think about like a normal, I come from corporate, right?
Right.
Like, the bigger the corporation,
right.
The more resources.
More resources.
More efficiency.
More efficiency.
Yeah.
Well, I was wrong. So once I had my prototype, and this is before I even left, once I had my prototype, I went through a period of time where I kept sending my prototype to multiple different manufacturers. So like rinse and repeat again, just like sending to one. Okay, that didn't work out. The quality was not good. You have in your mind a certain thing, and then you get it, and you're deeply just disappointed.
Right.
And so then right before I left, I was like, okay, there's one manufacturer I think might work out. They have about 100 employees and their quality wasn't bad. And so I went to Asia thinking I was going to potentially use them. I even visited their site, and I actually left Asia with a completely different manufacturer because what I realized was even with 100 people, they were just cranking out volume. They didn't care as much about the quality or the workmanship. And the person that made the sample was like their lead prototype maker. He had a lot of experience.
And you're careful about, this is a new brand. This is your brand. You want it to reflect you and not just some mass produced item. Right.
And I mean, they weren't bad. I mean, they actually produced for Joy and Amon for their line for Asia Sun, but it wasn't the quality.
Right.
It still wasn't the quality that I wanted. So during this time, like when I was at one of the trade shows, I actually ran into someone that was from the hometown of where my family came from.
Oh, wow.
And it's such a small fisherman's town.
This would be hard,
Yeah.
And so like all of them were like, it's like you're just happy to see someone from a small town. And and so then he was like, well, I actually have I have a friend that has a manufacturer. I mean, they're really small, but I can introduce you. And so that's who I end up using. So it's
through connections.
Yeah. It's part luck, part just finding the opportunities, right? If I wasn't there,
but also the due diligence, right? I mean, by this time you had already gone through a lot of different options, and you had seen the spectrum of what was available.
Which I think people underestimate how much work it goes into finding the right partner. I mean, I would call them partners more than just someone that's making my bags.
Yeah, we talk. I do a lot of business model canvas work, and folks are always like, "So how do we define partner?" I'm like, these are the people that without whom your business doesn't work. Right. Whether you have a formal you'll have a formal contract, but if you go beyond formal contract, right? If you actually create a joint venture or do something like that, that's what sometimes people think partners are. But I'm like, even if it's a straight up vendor relationship, if without them you have no business, they are your partner.
Yeah, exactly. And the relationship is so key. It doesn't matter where you are.
And being persistent, I think, too, and not settling. Because a lot of times, you go through this process and it might take you a while to find that right, perfect fit. And sometimes people get frustrated and just go, oh, you know what? Well, this is as close as I think I can get. So I'll stop here. But you obviously kept pushing forward and through meeting the other people from your village, you got that right connection and that right partnership. Yeah. That's very cool.
Yeah.
So
thanks.
when we come back, here we go.
We're going to talk about connections and more.
BioSTL is a proud founding sponsor of the Entrepreneurially Thinking podcast. We want you to know about all the great things they are up to, including the BioSTL STEM Entrepreneur Inclusion Initiative, which strengthens the region's bioscience ecosystem by identifying high-potential, talented women and minority STEM entrepreneurs and providing a systematic pathway for them to create viable, high-growth ventures. You can learn more about all of BioSTL's programs by visiting biostl.org. And for your renewed and continuing support, BioSTL, we say thank you.
I am Lacrosia Wilderness from Butter Love, and entrepreneurial thinking to me is failing forward.
Lisa, you were talking a lot about connections, right? And so I wonder how all those connections have come together for you between the naming of your line. We mentioned in the intro that you've named certain bags after women in history, women of achievement, making connections back to history, connecting with artisans overseas. So how are connections manifesting for you in the work that you're doing?
I think a lot of times we are afraid of asking for things to the universe. And I find myself doing that same thing too, where, I'm like, that's not possible. And when you say that, you shut off your opportunities. Yes. You shut off things, connections. And I'd say be unafraid of the things you're afraid of, or just go for it and go forth with it. Because that's when I have like some aha moments. That's when I find my best connections is when I'm just open to, what I want.
Right. Yeah. I always say, if you speak it out into the universe, it will be negative or positive.
Right.
Don't speak it if you don't want it to be.
Right, exactly.
So in that regard, choosing to name bags after women of note,
that's cool.
How does that help tie into what you're hoping to inspire other women? I mean, the bag is obviously beautiful and functional. We'll have some pictures on our website, and you're going to check out Lux Nyx when you listen to this, right? Functional and beautiful. And then what does it mean to connect it to other women?
Yeah. So when I was in the corporate world, I've had so many people tell me no in terms of my ask for promotions, my ask for raises. And, I've had opportunities where I was held back because, for whatever reason. Yeah. And there were times where I was like, oh, maybe I did something wrong. Maybe it was something
You internalized it.
I internalized it, and right out of college, you then you go into a career and you see seniority, and you're like, okay, this is the way it's supposed to be, and I respected the people that were before me and whatnot. But then I realized over time, I got to a certain point too. Like I look around and I'm like, okay, at least I made the ask, even though I got said no, but like at least I made the ask, and I got to a point where I realized I was one of the few female directors in a company, and
you finally turned around and you said, "Where the hell is the rest of the people?"
I know, but like it took me a while before I started realizing that, and then I was even more gung-ho about like, okay, like I need to make sure I ask for raises. I need to make sure I advocated for myself.
Right.
And so a lot of what this brand Lux Nyx is basically advocating for other women and asking other women to advocate for themselves, because we tend to internalize, like you said, internalize those thoughts of, are we not good enough?
It's what do they call it? Imposter syndrome. Like, I certainly don't deserve to be here, so I shouldn't be asking for this. Absolutely, you deserve to be there. What are some of the what is the line, the names of women that you've chosen for your line?
Yeah, so like Queen Elizabeth, Joan of Arc. So it's just, like I said, it's one of those things when you really truly mean, what you're doing, like in terms of like you're being authentic. I'm being authentic through this brand because those are the things I really truly believe in. I wanted to name bags using women history because I wanted females that carry my bag to feel like, okay, I need to carry the spirit of
Warriors
Joan of
and
Arc.
Queens.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Why not?
Right. Why not?
Right. Why not? And, but yeah, I just wanted more females to be unafraid of rejection. And that's one thing that growing up, you know, like especially coming from a very like traditional Asian culture, you know, we're told to subdue that ambition and
male dominated.
Very male dominated. And so it took me a really long time to embrace who I was. And I want it to be easier for other women.
So how do you, that's a really nice transition, because when you talk about, you know, there are tons of bags out there. How do you differentiate your bag from other? Because it sounds like you pull not only just the craftsmanship, but there's symbolism and around it. So how is this bag different from anything else?
Yeah. So so today I actually brought a bag in
It is
studio.
really cute.
It's really
Thanks.
cute.
Yeah. And so
It's got straps and zippers and pockets
And
and
it's
compartments, and I
golden.
feel like she's gonna pull out like a switchblade and a I don't know.
Anything is possible.
You know, like she
But
could
it's beautiful.
she could
It's
cook dinner and you know break into a safe with whatever's in that.
Great idea. You know what, Christy? I'm going to have to come back to you for ideas.
Hey, well, you know, I'm here for you.
break into a safe. Okay.
Yeah. So this is actually called the Little Zoe. So one other thing that I do is actually name some of my bags after some of the females that are my friends.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So Little Zoe, she works for a peptide company. She's a director there. So these are like, you know, hardworking women. And so this one, the front actually comes apart. So when we're talking about a transition in time. Yeah, so this part
transition in time.
So that's like a little clutch.
It's a little clutch. It actually turns into a crossbody and a belt bag. So there's like little clips behind it. Yeah,
I'm telling you, it's like superhero stuff.
Freaking cute.
She could totally take that in. Do whatever she needs to do.
And I love how, you know,
it's just really easy.
Yeah, and it's
like Charlie Angel kind of bag.
Yeah, and this whole bag is actually weather resistant. It's actually really hard to talk and try to show you guys these things. I don't know how you guys do this. Okay, so then on the side, there's actually shoe compartments as well. Yeah,
that's
like
brilliant.
flats.
Yeah, flats or heels. It actually fits tennis shoes as well. So
I
there's
love
like
it.
on both sides you can put shoes in there. Or I've actually had people that put like their selfie stick in there if they're like very media oriented.
That's plastic lined, isn't it?
It is. It's weather resistant. It could also be a perfect.
So if you put your shoes in there, because you're always like, I don't want to dirty up the inside.
Right.
That is so
I know.
cool.
Yeah, I know.
Those are all those.
So this just became
things.
007 because you can have that bag in an Aston Martin.
Oh my god!
Yeah, exactly.
I think you can get complimentary colors going on there.
I love this bag.
Yeah.
Though.
So then there's like this is like a really discreet water bottle holder. So that's part of the design too, is to make it look very slick.
That's a water bottle holder.
So it stretches.
Yeah. So it stretches. It actually.
Jeez, Louise, that's very cool.
Yeah.
Okay, open up the top flap there.
Yeah. So
show it all.
So then more pockets here, and then in here there's a laptop compartment and more pockets, just so that you can stay organized.
And it's stylish. It's beautiful.
It's
beautiful. I mean, I don't know. What is that, leather or?
So this is a tech material. It's called Freedom Fiber. It's completely weather resistant and it's lightweight. And for the animal lovers out there, it's vegan. And so, but it's like durable. It's super durable. It's the same. I mean, it's the same quality as leather. But
the backpack straps look very sturdy. They don't look like the little, you know, crappy straps that might hurt your arm, you know, your arms or anything like that. That's really, and the detail on there, the stitching is just beautiful on there on the back.
It is.
Yeah, and that was one thing that I was very cognizant about is the straps and how cushy they are, because I went through so many renditions of just the straps alone. And here's a luggage strap back here. So this is where you
can stick that on that is so good. When I used to travel like a crazy person, that was the hardest thing, is trying to put your backpack on the damn on your luggage thing.
Yeah, it's just a simple ad. Off. Yeah, it's a simple ad.
That's beautiful.
And then we have also one extra feature, which is, so there's a utility strap on the bottom. So let's say when you're in a city, you're walking around, you have a wet umbrella. And then when you get to, like either she's
freaking brilliant.
Thought of every damn thing, especially for
or if you're expecting it to rain, you can just put it down here and whether it's wet or
it's not
dry.
Huge, guys. This is like, I think it's smaller than a regular backpack, but it's so functional.
But I could load that sucker up.
Yeah. Oh my! So, just curious, what do you carry in your purse?
So I always carry my laptop. I have a wallet. I always have paperwork with me.
Yep.
And then I always have a pair of flats or heels, depending on what I'm trying to change into. And then snacks.
Awesome.
I love her.
Snack compartment.
I get hangry.
Oh, yeah. We've been known to be hangry.
Yeah. And so, so it's like, okay, just in case. I want to bring my best foot forward. And
so what does your product line range from? What's the price range for your product?
So it ranges from $160 to $445. So I haven't developed smaller in terms of smaller wallets or anything like that. So the price range might drop. The upper echelon might go up, but I mean, I'm just starting out in the last year, so you never know.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So what surprised you about making that leap? So, beautiful pink sunset.
Yeah.
You name the brand, you make the leap off the traditional CFO track. What's been surprising, exciting, scary, all of the above?
We actually got some pretty good exposure. Well, I take a step back. Some things that surprised me were some people that were supportive surprised me, and some people that didn't support me surprised me.
Good to know.
You know what I mean?
Yes. People find that a lot in their lives. That the folks who have been supportive of the traditional route don't always support, and vice versa, right?
Because I was going to ask you, your family, they seem very traditional.
Oh my gosh. Well,
so
I was going to say,
when you stepped off that CFO track.
Yeah, they were what
horrified, I think is actually the word she's looking for.
They were. My even my mother. So it's funny. That's why I want to take a step back and mention that, because so we've actually it's funny. So like the first time I got into a publication, it was like Lydia News, and then I was like, oh mom, that magazine you get all the time, and I was like, look, you opened up and I'm right there.
Right.
Isn't that cool? Awesome. And she was like, are you making money yet? I'm like, and then like I still got into more and more publications, and then each time it was like the same thing. It was like,
making money yet?
Are you making money yet? I'm like, and then she's like, well, I don't, it's such a shame that you left such a good job.
Your mother could have been my mother. They're just they're in two different bodies.
And so it's funny. So it took until like just recently. So we were actually the swag bag at the Screen Actors Guild Award.
That is so awesome.
So it was for the nominees that stayed at the Four Seasons Hotel. So some of them include like Lady Gaga and like Tina Fey. So it was really cool.
So your bag was part of that?
Yeah.
Girl, with your bad self.
Yeah.
I think that's the first time you've ever said that on the show, and I love it. You made me snort.
I was going to say. I was going to call you out.
That's okay. I called myself out, and the listeners heard it whether I named it or not, so it's all good.
So then so it was, I think like Fox 2 News did a coverage on that, and then she saw that, and she because I told her about it. I didn't think she was actually going to watch it because she's been
it's not her thing.
Yeah. And so she actually watched it, and she sent me a video, and she was like, and like in Chinese, she was like, "Wow, that wasn't too bad."
That's a home run. That's a home run.
And then so that was like the first like inkling of maybe she's okay with this.
Right.
You haven't moved back in with her.
That's exactly what I was going to say. You're not in her basement, so she's okay with that. And And she could tell her friends, look, my baby was at the Oscars, right? She was part of it. Or her bag was.
Yeah, I was going to say, I wasn't there. I mean, I live vicariously through my bags.
Yeah, that's great.
But yeah, so this actually, another thing is like, just last week, our bag actually made it into Forbes online too.
Oh, that is wonderful!
So
Congratulations!
Thanks. We're working really hard. And,
when did you start your business?
I launched a brand in May of 2018. I left corporate in October 2017.
So not a lot of runway, and you've made a lot of headway.
Yeah, I mean that's persistency, right?
Yes.
That's exactly what I tell people, and I think this is just the beginning. It's not, it's still ground zero. So
we're going to make sure we immortalize this. We're taking a picture so when she really blows up,
so we can say we knew it.
Exactly. We're going to hold this up to you when you stand it on the red carpet somewhere and say, hey.
You don't have to thank us at the podium.
So funny. Oh, wow.
Well, and so if our listeners want to find out more about the brand and keep tabs on you, where do they find the product? Where do they find more about you?
Yeah. So we have a website. It's luxnyx.com. So LuxAndNYX.com. We're pretty active on social media as well. So you can check out our Instagram page, which is Lux Nyx. We also have Facebook page, and then we're also active on LinkedIn.
Oh, great.
Just because we're probably one of the few D2C brands that can actually stand on LinkedIn and say, like, and people are engaging with us because of the fact that it aligns with the working woman.
Absolutely.
Yes. Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm going to be checking it out.
I can tell.
You know, I'm
Absolutely. Looking at it. Well, it's been really great to spend time with you to learn more about your journey and to share that with our listeners. So thank you so much for making time.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
Changing the way you view new ventures, unlocking your creativity and innovation, igniting your thinking about entrepreneurship. It's Entrepreneurially Thinking. Get connected and discover more. Visit entrepreneuriallythinking.com to listen to all your favorite episodes and learn more about our guests, hosts, and sponsors. Feeling inspired? Be sure to share your thoughts, questions, and stories in the comments section. And don't forget to leave us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts. The best way to show love is to share and subscribe. Let everybody know that you're entrepreneurially thinking.